Hello, everyone. My name is Soul, and today on Soul Show, we're talking about Spyro, the next chapter in the Saw franchise. And back in the day, I was actually pretty into the Saw films, like growing up as like a connoisseur of film, and the only like really big Halloween horror genre that I was able to get like a bunch of DVDs from pawn shops was like the Saw movies. And I love the big twist endings. That was like my big real reason for liking these films is there was a lot of like really cool psychological things going on with that. And after like movie 4, like it started with one really good kind of art housey almost film, and then like 2 like made it like a bigger thing, and then 3 went off rails, and 4 did the same thing, and by 5 we're just having like our yearly Saw look at a bunch of people being tortured in traps films. And the 7th one kind of brought it back, and then Jigsaw came out, and Jigsaw I remember hating, and I don't remember it. Like, I don't remember a single thing about that film. That's how fucking forgettable the Jigsaw movie was. That being said, though, Spiral is just a film that happens to take place in this universe. We actually get very little to any of the events happening within the Saw universe. It's just kind of a copycat killer that is also killing people in Saw traps. And that's a good way for like Chris Rock to be able to tell this story, but also like tag it into this big franchise where he's going to make a bunch of money. And the way this film opens up had me very worried. And it's very telling at the same time. So when we open this film up, it's just your standard Saw trap, and it immediately turns into a bloodbath. And already I can tell you that I'm not going to enjoy this film to the extent that I like the original Saw films. All the best like Saw traps were psychological ones. For instance, the entire first movie is a single trap. And same with the second movie, the third movie. And slowly it's no longer about these big grand single traps. It's just about like taking a bunch of different ideas and just putting people in all these mini traps. There is a person just doing his normal things, and then he turns around and he's like, "Oh no, I'm in a trap." Like, after a while it just became a gore fest, and a lot of the people were coming for the gore, and that's not what Saw was to me. It was about these like really psychological mental battles that people had with their existence and the pain they're going through. And the traps in this film, like some of the more recent Saw movies, they're just gory. They're just fucking gory and twisted, and it's more about torture than it is like a psychological battle. There's like there's a trap where it's like, oh, just sever your spine and bleed to death, and then you can escape. And like, there's not a whole lot to that. It's all about just put yourself through enough pain. There's no like secret ways out, or like different like ways to like to battle it or use your wits or do anything, make a choice between this person like other people. There's none of that. It's just a gore fest. And then we cut to Chris Rock. Chris Rock is kind of doing a completely different film that happens to be within the Saw universe, and that's why a lot of people are saying that this film's tone is all over the place. And it completely is, because right after that we cut to Chris Rock, he's like an undercover cop just for that one scene, and you know there's like a lot of cursing with like really like pretty strong like rap and R&B. Like there's like 21 Savage coming in and stuff like that, and it just doesn't match the Saw universe tone, and I'm completely fine with them doing something different with that. It's just when they try to tie it back to the Saw stuff that it just like this doesn't clash very well. These are completely different movies you're trying to tell. But following that, we learn more about Chris Rock and his relationship with his father. His father is Samuel L. Jackson, and I remember being in my theater and one of the trailers comes on, and guess who's in that movie? Samuel L. Jackson. I'm just like, God, this man is in every fucking film. And then literally the trailer that came after that trailer was a movie with Samuel L. Jackson. And then like a third of the way through this movie, guess who shows up on my screen yet again? It's Samuel L. Jackson in his 500th movie this year. And guess what? He killed it. He kills it every time. He's a fucking mastercraft actor. Let's give it up for Samuel L. Jackson, everybody. Um, Basically, the police, the police unit that Chris Rock is in is very corrupt, and the Jigsaw copycat killer is taking out these police officers for their corrupt ways. And it's not so much about can they live or die. It's more about, hey, I'm gonna kill you because you're an evil, twisted person, and you might have a chance to win, but nobody ever gets out of these traps. Like, oh yeah, just sever your spine and just walk out of here. No, that's not gonna happen. And as you can expect with Saw movies, there's a big reveal. There's a big twist that changes things, and it's actually pretty damn good. I'm not gonna lie. Halfway through this film, I was like, this is dog shit. This doesn't know what it's doing. Chris Rock is actually probably the best part of this film because he is carrying it, and he's funny when he needs to be, and like when things are tense, he knows how to, actually get those emotions in. He's got enough range to pull off this performance. Samuel Jackson is great too. And when this twist happens, it completely puts into perspective what they're actually trying to do with the story. And I can actually see like what Chris Rock is doing. There is a little bit of like a racial commentary here. And I'm not gonna lie, like normally, I'm not a big political guy. A lot of the times when these films make big political statements, I'm just kind of like, I don't really. This was one political statement that like I could get behind because it wasn't like preachy, but at the same time it was very telling, and it was visual. There's a lot of visual storytelling in there, which you don't expect that from Spiral, the Saw spinoff. And by the end of the film, the twist ending is like they nail it. They nail it just in time for the ending, and then suddenly I was watching this dog shit film, and by the end of it, I was like, well, I can't hate it now because I popped hard as hell during that ending climax. So what we're left with is a mixed bag of a film. There's complete tangents in this film that I would cut out. There is the traps, which I'm not gonna lie, I'm not like a gory like pussy or anything, but at some point I'm just gonna look away because it's gross and it serves nothing. I don't know these characters, I don't care about these characters, I'm just watching them writhe in pain, especially in a film where that tone doesn't even match. At least in a normal Saw movie, it's spooky, it's Halloween, and then when we cut from this to just like police officers like cutting the shit, it just doesn't mesh well. So a lot of this film I don't care for, but that ending pulled it all back in. Of course, you got Chris Rock, Samuel Jackson. They're great in this film. Their performances are really the only thing like worth a damn. Shout out to Chris Rock's partner. He's got a good chemistry and foil with Chris Rock as well. At some point in this film, I really thought they were doing something a little bit bigger, and it didn't really do that. I think this film would have just worked if you just took it out of the Saw universe, because we don't gotta watch these traps. If anything, just have like a criminal who's like really into torturing them, and they can have just like them die on screen in like 1 minute. We don't have to have these over complicated traps. You could have a because one of the traps I liked involved this whole puppet mechanic, so you could just call him the Puppet Master. And by the end of the film, like, it would have worked just the same way plot-wise. They use the Saw trap as something bigger for their, political statement thing I was talking about. And again, it works. But all the other traps were unnecessary. If you just took it out of the Saw universe and just made it a different kind of serial killer and just tweaked a couple things writing-wise, I would have enjoyed this film more. And you didn't have that, like, splattered tone that's just kind of all over the place. So yeah, there's some good things in here, but there is a lot of nonsense. There's a lot of meandering on what we don't know what we're doing. So yeah, that's really what you get with Spiral. It is a mixed bag of things you might like if you're a Saw fan, and then some things you might hate if you're a Saw fan, and then Chris Rock just doing his own cool movie in the midst of that. But it's clogged up by everything else. Like when you see a character like put on the pig's mask in the first Saw movie, you're like, what is that? There's a guy crawling on the ground in a pig's mask. Like you're completely taken aback. But at this point, they're just doing the same motions, the same beats, the same things that they've always done, and it doesn't have that spook factor. This is a suspense film now, and that just doesn't clash as well with these traps, and on top of that, you have this cop movie. It's all over the place. Anyway, I've rambled long enough. I'm going to give my score out of the way. I'm going to give Spiral a 5 out of 10. It is a mixed bag. It's definitely not going to be in my top 10 movies of the year or anything. And as far as being on like a Saw tier list, it's definitely towards the bottom, but it's not the very bottom, you know. The ending was very cool, I will say that. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, everybody, and until next time, with that, I leave you.